I mention near Tifo. First of all, me nkase obi elko ewonukruma our direct effect on this. But then the president, what he seeks to say, and I said, Professor Chen said, Ghana is a global player among the community of nations of the world. And the world, it thrives on basically economy, every country beyond oil. And I said, fuel, and the biggest deal across the world. I think it's the most first leading businesses, and I say most first leading commodity the whole world needs at any given time. Unfortunately, in your country, beyond we are here, oil nibi, and usually the countries of the world with more oil. I almost supply the greater part, and I said the 8 billion people on earth, a very few countries. One of the biggest players in Iran, and this Iran is supply, then the contribution to the world oil market, it's a problem. Or one, obedical freezy production of the oil, and two, obey reducing the supply as also a means also feel very important. Well, Iran, the oil produces or use or talk about 85% of the oil. In this or Kuntokanas who decided not to send, and also diverting attention on a different sector, whereas the defense and the security in the year. Of course, the world markets, of the oil, you always look at the happenings in any of the country or Kuntoka. And it is a president in Kaka or no come and as he said, say it be a prudent analysis. Not time be a better oil be a mono. The next thing I better mukuma car prices your friends say trotro any car face. You have to face ma the next thing tear duane. You have to face ma Ubia auton at your market I said the auton in Tadia Crown or say to petrol non swatun because car for the president I think cleverly quoted said at any given time, there's a shock of prices on the oil. That's a wouldn't need any better approach to deal with the oil sector. It is commonly a possible say, economy. We are about to hit an inflation, especially countries say, oil, you're tuning in article. Baku 1% you processed it, say a ton of kuma. But that is not the case of most of the other countries who produce oil. Only not produce ton, but Iran will produce ton, but will just be money crum for. Nicaragua will produce ton, will just be money crum for. Canada will produce, but will just be money crum for. Countries who produce oil, Saudi Arabia, money, Iran, your friend is there, Qatar, Kuwait, and Emirates. Nyina produce oil now. Jabi mo mukrum for timi tono at a very good rate. Name of young African in mostly Nigeria, Angola, Ghana, Guinea Equatorial, and some other African countries are you to oil no. Yatoni na ko. And sunny any sapis kako. And the president who says Kobase oil boy ding international marketer. Say, but Mr. Maybe say, I didn't instead, now president, on some started say no, yes, your production, you trust you be processing in your tone in case it be basa, you shocks, but rather than all the time, say price of oil cost right. Now, in one way, why are we also not thinking about that? In this, yes, Israel and one Arab nations air kontoka and now what's Iran elsewhere on any kontoka, which is a Persian. And let us not get it wrong. Say Iran on the Arab Middle East, on the Arab world, Iran only belong to the Persian Peninsula, and the peninsula for Wakoka Iran, which of course is not an Arab state, but it is seen say a pro-Islam country and as a pro-Islam nation, and the one would identify say Arabian, but open peninsula.
Do you see this ending anytime soon? Or we could be say then a coffee as I do we buy.
Okay. Our history. The history is very simple. On say Israel as a country, Israel Pentokwa, and Israel as a country, no. Israel your parties bia omuba di omudiye eyentokwa, especially with the Arabs. And no more prime ministers and the it stay power for long. And to one, I'm not in doubt. And two, it is not of a surprise. But the reality of the matter is that Israel war with the Arab countries in yes, our Israel, the first Arab country on the Egypt. The second country on the Jordan. A border, Egyptian border, Syria, a border, on no Kontoka. Now, I've heard said, almost 1967, exactly 58 years in year one, and years Sadiano. Or you June, the same June, yeah, you will be 5th June to the 10th June, and a near friend, the Arab Israeli war, or countries three, a boom. She said, oh, yeah. Arab Egypt, Arab Jordan, and Arab Syria. On 6 days, or said these three countries, aircraft Maku 450. Abu Young country. 450 aircraft packed on the airports of all these countries, or Kotenina, and Lokam Boom. One Egypt, a war no 1973. On Egypt to Bekonsa and son of finally Yebinya the Oslo Accord. Oslo Accord, no, the US president near French Jimmy Carter 78. Only the only American president. One Kontokwa Bedia. Our year Najan so Kontokwa as American president here, the Adebo Mabeti friend streamers. Only the one decided to pay. It would me ma Oslo Accord. Oslo Accord, no. And they solve Israel and Palestine. Yes, Israel and Egypt in 1979. Almost started accord in 79 and almost peace treaty. That time, no, there Israel almost Prime Minister Menachem and Egypt also see your friend is like Anwar Sadat and Jimmy Carter. Yes, peace. From here, Israel said, or started to obey part of Jordan. And you know, Jordan. But let us not forget, say Jordan, King Hussein, no, or no, a British, more or less, not the family. Omina, no, me a British. King Hussein of Jordan, the Banuko house is Omina, you are British. And China, British for the America for no, Omujini issue. Name in recent time, last year, 2024. Which was exactly 48 years in Tibet raid. You can't Tibet raider. And no, Israeli, Palestine, Omuntokwa, Koba, German phobia, now your friend Wilfred Boze, and a Kuman, and the Palestine phobia, you know, Omko hijack Air France plane, and Neko Paris, Omko see Uganda. Nazoba Kaya, Sa in Tibet raiding, Nipa 103, say we are before the we na you leading that in Tibet region. Shaq your friends then Benjamin Netanyahu, we are the brother, and was only the commander head of the commandos, you know, on one year. Until last year, or celebrating or celebrating a brother no 48 years, no, I don't know what they started Hamas. Out of the kidnap, no, say Hamas for kidnap Israelis, so of course. And then I know kidnap, kidnap. But that was what or no this celebrity or call Uganda or buy a nan or best artist Antokwan. That are kidnap not take place that. And or they are start a concert. But let us not forget, sir, in the history of Israel, since David Ben-Gurion, Likud Party, Makai Party, any other parties, one Israel, Labour Party, Labour for Nobody will be on Kontokwa. Labour for Nba. They don't fight.
Yeah.
They make peace. It's the Labour around Sharon, their friends, Shimon Peres, Ishaq Rabin. Omu peace na omu ye. Na omu ne your friends yes Arafat. Any Rabin no. And no man the small boy 25-year-old Yigalamia. Nibukofu ya or say for signing to allow Palestine to be a country. Near two-state solutions, you know. And a law student, Omutimiya boy near day, Okukum Rabin. Okum Rabin around Sharon President Shimon Peres by a free Labour Party for Nina Obiaba Kontoka. Name from after the death of Sharon. Osha Oma by Arian Sharon and Sabi and say who nobody stay power. Now the history of Israel, maybe Netanyahu and the prime minister were about 3 times.
Yeah.
Shimon Peres.
That means the oil because ansan or bebane 30 Ukraine. Now for GD say the AC no ebesi ampa oba AC. That means Israel for no money.
It is neither here nor there. There are 2 things to look at Israel. And then you come Ishaq Rabin. I was in the city. That November 4th, 1995. I was in Tel Aviv. I can ask you, baby, I was in Tel Aviv. This is what they do. Omono, Omusa, the size of Israel. And they say, Ufri Accra, Eko Achide, what tells you Accra? It's only the north, the north near 250 kilometers, and at the west to east, actually 90 kilometers. So imagine such a small place. And she said, a compass and Tokwane Badia, then all of them, because their security is at risk. Angel. And in the bunker, you need your MAPA party member, you need your Labour member, and you need their Likud party member, and you need their Yamina party member. And the population is studying, Look at the population of Israel Israelis in Israel. Own population outside the world is 2 times, 3 times bigger. Like the same thing like Palestinians. Bigger outside than Israel. And Toma Yoma said no. And Tokwa Akon the world wars near Dadinema Ukraine if you free mu. And maybe I could be America, be Italy, be France, Switzerland, all over, Oko Argentina, Omugua, Brazil, baby, and Tomu Donetiska. And the man who is the strong man. Omukriti, the atmosphere, who is the strongest, Debian obey defending the land Israel. Yeah. Knowing very well, say, the land near Kakrebi. Knowing very well, say, they are surrounded by Arabs. Knowing very well, say, that if Arabs coordinate together, at Iran, can say, or wipe Israel from the map of the Arabian Peninsula, and for that matter, the Middle East. And also for Mahmoud Green said, even though so Omon Peno, she said before say Bibi Netanyahu back on the 3rd time, he was due to go to jail. He was due to go to jail. No case or corruption case. And it was almost at the end. And I said, Yadini but instead I come back. And we're a coalition. And we're a coalition. The only way and you go through we're a coalition government with the Likud party. The next thing I saw and said, and that's what started say, obey creative insecurity. And then in the history of Israel, any time and they don't change their prime minister. But what are they saying?
Sure.
Whenever they are fighting, they don't touch the prime minister. Whenever they are fighting, they don't go into elections. Whenever they are fighting, they don't touch any dial apart from concentrating to fight. And that is the catch. One day Hamas and talk when I start here, and then SS now be to Iran. Because Hamas is the only organization that Iran in a support to yes, and send Qatar and some of the Arabian Peninsula need to support them. But you must say, why not Hamas? Yeah. Hamas no Israel for any America for net Hamas.
Angel.
Israel any America for any Hamas in 1987. At that time no na PLO Arafat no wa form the PLO Palestinian Liberation of since 1964. But 1964 no Now Israel and America for cutting Hamas say they should not allow Yasser Arafat to progress and make sure say Obeka Palestine for no good. Look at the interesting dynamics. In Palestinian APLU, Yasser Arafat and Ankasa, only Hamas for we see ever coin. Why Israelis were supporting Hamas? Why Americans were supporting Hamas? You would say, Omuto by it. Channels are a good assassination of Palestine.
Yeah.
Hamas won only then the two tunnels. Everybody Israelis who say tunnels was here. Way back. Only two tunnels, only Iran for Kunyan, your president, Jordan Kunyan, no cricket tunnels. No. And the Hamas was supporting them to fight with the other Arab countries. But when the table turned around, even before the death of Yasser Arafat, Hamas were fighting. The country Palestine was even divided into two. Yasser Arafat, they expected say, Ombe surrender, and Arab for China around there, Hamas for say, Palestinian authority, they want to be a leadership and have their country. And then when Israel for Entokwa start here, kidnapping, killing, Omako. But the reality is that Israel, One Hamas or Kondia, we see say one Hezbollah, Lebanon, and Eko. Who say one Iran and Eko. But Argentina, the country Qatar, I will be able to use a Qatar or supporting these organizations. I don't know how the Israel on Coco because Qatar to say American hood.
Okay. All right, Alaji, finally, my misa this na fe yemfinsi. Attacks na airco ni nyina attacks na a free Israel airco no. Omo attack nuclear sites, omo attack scientists, military leaders. Special reason be ohontia Emma sa installments and omo attack.
Okay, this is not the first time. In 1988, 1988, 89, 90. Now Libya, or the same nuclear project, our Misrata. Or we are underground, and of course, nuclear sites in Iran will be underground. Abroad, Israel will be, America will be, France will be, UK will be, America, our Nigeria. Are you getting me? Israel, for India, Palestine, and Libya here, Nigeria. Way back, Iran starting the program. Or you do 84%, or you do first one, or do almost about 75%. Underground basement, are there Chiano? No Israelis are best shit. Abra any military fight, be only Libya for any military fight there. Only to be by underground, but share at Israeli fighting. 89, 1991, the same thing. Obashe, Gaddafi give you. And I know the Gaddafi or Bufu, Egypt said. Now almost smuggle Israelis, Egypt, and because maybe our Misrata and Egypt were born than never they were using Egyptian Arabs, and no media Juma or Libyan site anymore, and a Libya stadium. Now, I don't know what targeted scientists, Iranian scientists, a nuclear scientist, and build the project. And when him say, baby, woman, a drone, Israelis, Iranian scientists in there, also share the America. Nuclear science in America, and Russia, and Oma do technology enhancement advancement in their account, and Oma be a top class nuclear scientist. Until they know say they are in that country. Now Osha, the head of Revolutionary Guard, are only the top security commander of the nation Iran, Republic of Iran. Shamabia on that. Never apartment. Omutimipo crash here, or military commanders, Shakwa Fafwa, Omutimikunkum. Within a matter, says Ratimako Iran airspace. It is not an easy joke because it's the size of army, ASA, the population ASA, and in equipment, of course, initially America fought with him, but then Trump are contradicting himself. He had the knowledge of it. But they didn't support. What does it mean? Meaning that Israel, all the times America, or could be in America, on ya. When it becomes bigger, they don't have that kind of And Yama meeting the army, even the troop, America. Yeah. And before Israel Bibino. That directly, indirectly, no, because they are a unilateral decision. The United Nations, Israel does not respect UN. Israel does not respect the European Union. Neither do they respect any organization in the world. But flamboyantly, they are also a member of the UN. But the things in DNA what take care. Israel, UN for Ekachens for Unjaya. So even one would ask, what is even the essence of the UN? Because UN or countries are. So Ghana and acquire Saudi we are. And sanctions. But look at Nyama Israel fire. The highest sanction are other European countries because of the Israel. Or any diplomatic sanctions. What is it? Arms. But which European country no produce weapons in Israel? Holland no, Germany no, Italy no, Turkey no, Czech Republic. These are countries who produce weapons. You find a supply Israel. And the idea won't supply no. And they say what I say me my body and a bunch and call the north. Who cares? Because the beer for phone you even though it's the other way around, they like for phone. But who cares? And the same thing. And the Israelis also said the other country to say Israel, Iran. The sanctions, America funding the other part of European countries, the Ama woman for the past Trump time. Sanctions don't be more permanent. 20 Maumubi, Obia Maumubi. I didn't in Israel, the oil, or the about 6 months, more than 60,000 Palestinians and hospitals, everything. Now, Obi Antimin sanction. Only Lebanon, only Hamas for Kuyu. Whilst there was a peace, it was in process. Our more discussed ceasefire and what it is, Southern Lebanon. Shadow Hezbollah, Nazoko Hezbollah or border nano. As now Tlako Krum, about 50 kilometers inside, deep inside Lebanon, after this Roman infrastructure in her. And then was Musa Assad was a problem. So Assad called Janin Wakwa. She said the regime of Israel, where we were Syria. The Golan Heights already not a height in a problem was already deep inside Syria and destroyed Damascus. And it is just only said, were you Egypt free and were you Jordan free? But then the countries are Lebanon, Syria, and Iran are becoming. And nobody seems to. Because the destruction are all here. So, any of the nuclear. Already, we say, Omar building, they are only about 15% to complete. It means that there's a nuclear reactor, there's a nuclear reactions that could take place. And it says, say, now was starting destroy reactors. So, a war bunker, very deep, fortified, Israel for new weapon. One weapon cannot go into that side. But when you see ICBM, of course, our surface, and they were able to destroy it. Minimum, they almost have 45 underground. What tempted of there will be a nuclear.
Okay.
If there's a nuclear eruption, everything affects other part of the world, and even the same Israeli peninsula. How long normally nose mask and oxygen versus nose? I go to bunkum. And that thing said. Israeli, the word means peace, but what Israel is doing, it is a bit outrageous.
Okay, but, so question, no say, and anytime soon. Now, why a bit to me, because now you are saying, say, because of say Israel for Munim said the highest power US Tainachi, it will on fire United Nations here. So you want to bet me, I'll stop this war.
You can go on peace table, on peace treaty, on signing this, signing that, it will not end anywhere. What you should be looking out for, and that's what we should be doing. Iran, as some of us and some of you and most people have caught, say, the strength of Iran military, and then it has taken everybody of the world by surprise. Iran to meet and guide. Israel Timaba, the airspace, certainly they have spoken. The Iranian government, the king, they are all saying that Israel will pay for the price. Of course, and your first time I had to such speeches in the But what I said, Iran can go for toe-to-toe confrontation with Israel. That is where Americans will draw into the picture. And what I see is that the strategy is that Iran makes an attempt So Americans don't say involved, but when Iran takes arms, so ni Israel they will come. What does it mean? So indirectly, Americans Israeli against Iran. Say Iran for na America and Israel will end up destroying Iran.
Okay, but would you say development by Donald Trump didn't know about talking about say and can Israel for person more assassinate leader Ayatollah Ali and Donald Trump have be and yes so you think anything Maumun says because leader no near person assassinating it there, then it will be very difficult to resolve this issue.
It's one thing that you should not forget, sir. Israel, anytime any country be a fighting, the leader not targeting. Shawani Hamas, they were almost to conclude the issue of this impasse. And Okokum, Hamas leader, or the same Iran, they were discussing with Hezbollah and Okokum Hezbollah leader. So of course, Sir Opeka said Okum, Iran, Omo, make fine say Obit the Mekan says Ghana, Bekan says Sabi, Ebia, Atlantic Kingdom, because the Iranian kingdom or Nihine, and it's also become the head and the chief and the king of that country there. Then it is a declaration of a very serious crisis to come. But for me, Americans, of course, they will play around it. But all what they are seeking to do, and he said, Israel, so many America, also so what Iranians are, pro-Americans, are against the Iranian, maybe communist system. And all the time, that is what takes place. They said, Afghanistan, they try to install a government that will be in bed with them. And that is what 1C said. If they will target to kill so only Dana, it only just suggests they have persons and individuals trained by the Americans, by the Israelis, anti also Iranian government and now pro-Iranian and it's always has been the case. The same case like Iraq, the same thing. Because you don't know where Americans support and where Israel would support. You share Iran, any Iraq war. Then America supported Saddam Hussein, any Iran, no way they turn against. It's always what they begin and what you want, what you give up. And a very critical and delicate issue in the Middle East, any Israel and America issue. That's when Oma did someone in our normal bra. That is Israel for you, no majai.
Okay.
Say Lebanon, or Bubu pray, was say the only place I want to say, Okra the leader. And will die. Now the same thing was started in Syria or destroyed, and only doesn't come into the world of news and world picture. But every day, or yes, serious bombardment over Israel, over Syria. What for? Syria is also a serious producer of oil, and they all do that also for instance, a business, and they all do that for political sake. Bibi Netanyahu's future. Because he's not prepared to leave Israel. Because so Bibi Netanyahu will free Israel as a prime minister. He has a lot of issues and a lot of cases, and you might be very, very, very also tried somewhere. And only some of the things Sophie said. Then we move in, we march on, and let's do. And whereas the world concentration in our Bibi Netanyahu in Israel, so he's also taking advantage of staying in power for long. There's politics.
Also, finally, Hansan or Beja, Yen Sudian, a bit me, I know, Hasi, said a bear, what the camera, the effect of bit me the about oil seminia dinner, Diana, who says Abri, the finance minister, ne, economic managers, then Yenye said a bear, Yen, as okay say.
Papa, we call it obey the wind. They are no better. But the reality is you're too well oil prices. There's nothing that you can do. Yeah. Politics, you can instruct your managers, your ministers of the economy, managers of the economy. And then we'll be to my say oil, I got 1 barrel, now $150, say BBL do that. Who did then have it to stop on? It is also economic shock, sir. It has to come with a certain practices. Their practice is saying we don't create wealth. The country Ghana has never, and we do not create wealth. It's wealth of income. Wealth of income, gold, and now dear, and then you try to gold, you bring your gold, 10% of your gold, and look about Hokra, you can account for it. It is high time. Since the government of Ghana do not rely on the economies of other parts of the world because you will be paying. The China, Wuhan, and the COVID buyer, no country no the COVID buyer, they've never seen wealth bigger than the time that the country, the whole world economy crashed. Look at post-COVID. China is stronger economically more than it was before. Countries be sika under the COVID, whereas other countries have crashed down. Sorry. So we are saying that, yes, the talk is there, Mr. President Bingo, thank you. But what are we doing? Now there is a new government, there is a new wave, there is a new spirit, there is no new descent. And then you moisturize our economy and economic system said. So agree na ye dia to ye ni ato only one thing that is cocoa. Cocoa no class say ni dia. And then biam ye bitime export. And they say oh enema wo de ko and I would more wealth with the income over. You don't care about the Israeli-Arab war. You don't care about Russia-Ukraine war. Sabinanado, Ekokan UN General Assembly said, any bomb that hit on target on Ukrainian soil affects the pocket of ordinary Ghanaian. I was so ashamed. And it was so distasteful. Say, president of an African country, who are war resources, who will be here, who will be now, Koka, say, we now they share for applause. And I am more in some, but unfortunately, that statement, no world government, because they were all sitting there looking at him because he was playing the pro-Ukrainian cards. It never worked because they themselves, the Europeans, the Germans, the Swiss, the Hollands, Belgium, any Hungary, Czech Republic, in the war, in the middle of the war, me a member of NATO, still Russia oil. Man is sanctions, but they buy Russia's oil. In the South of Ghana, now say any bomb that hit on target in Iranian soil affected the oil of Ghanaian pocket. Because you are being lazy as a government, and I don't expect. Say this government, His Excellency President Mama, also be toned it down. I'm here say Iran-Israeli war, and I'm a Ghana. We don't want to hear that. Israel is not Ghana, neither Iran is Ghana. And Israel doesn't have any direct or any developing partner. The BNY bilateral sometimes, and I say was some few grants bia or mudimani new omuhium. Omunya country Ghana, neither in Iran or Ghana will be BMO. And this home you look, how does it affect you? Affects you, you are talking about oil, but indirectly we are not talking about the oil. We should say oil no and the price never hypo in the affecting. Is that how we have to always rule, manage and administer economy? The answer is no. We don't want any kind of excuses from any of our leaders, and for that matter, current president. Now do you see COVID? Ghana, COVID, they didn't do anything. To some extent, it's the same thing that the government should not also find excuse. Because I said, let Akufo-Addo, it's not COVID. If it is not COVID, then it's not Israel-Palestine war, Israel-Syria war, Israel-Lebanon war, not Israel-Iranian war. We should be able to find a case to moisturize our economy.
But President John Dramani Mahama can say the question no be affect you, so on so admit says war na question no be may shock e wa ha say.
It should not affect us in any way if you have a prudent problem, because Belgium, Mecca say Israeli war be affected. Omukra Israel very close. Germany, Mecca say Israeli-Iran war be affected. Holland, Mecca say Israeli war be affected. What about the countries in the region? Egypt is also say. What about the countries that airspace bimu across? Jordan is caught in the middle between Jordan and then Iran and Israel. They are right in the middle. They are flying drones all over their overhead. What is that Jordan? America says Israeli Iran war. Ever affecting Anna. And look at our distance. We're talking about more than 5,000 miles away. And then we do not. Okay. Me, I don't subscribe that one as an excuse for any leader in our country, because Israel and Palestine, Israel and Iran, but Ghana body I say.
Angel.
I affect your body. I affect your tomatoes, mangoes are affecting. And then affecting, we can only talk about one thing, oil. Israel on top Ghana, your friend is a on top ya cocoa. Yanton cocoa ma Israel. On okoto cocoa at the end of the world market. Yanton cocoa emma Iran. And yanton gold emma Israel as a country. And yanton gold emma Iran as a country. And yanton bauxite and diamond emma these countries. Yanton ye timber ma these two countries. Omnya commercial trading partners. And you say your home and that's a very affecting. You're only talking in the global sense. Say, okay, oil prices go up. Oil prices go up. It has to do with also Nyama also they call Usubenyeska now subsidize our country not transfer. And your woman can affected the whole world. Prices in a affected. But countries are living comfortably. Switzerland don't say they cannot.